ಓಂ ಸದಾಶಿವಸಮಾರಂಭಾಂ ಶಂಕರಾಚಾರ್ಯಮಧ್ಯಮಾಂ ಅಸ್ಮದಾಚಾರ್ಯಪರ್ಯಂತಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಗುರುಪರಂಪರಾಂ. With respect to the last class, okay, let's start. Akhandam Sachidanandam Avang Manasagocharam Atmanam Akhiladharam Ashrebhishta Siddhaye Arthatopi Advayanandan Atita Dvaita Bhanataha Guru Naradya Vedanta Sarum Vaksheyathamati. With respect to the last class, I received a question regarding Shrotriyam and Brahmanishtam. Okay. Okay, all those who have a good connection, please keep your video on, all right? Now, Kshotriyam is easy to understand. Though Kshotriyam may not always be easy to check up. I mean, you can know there is a parampara, this, that, etc. But how do you expect, how do you know how much the person has understood? Remember, if I don't have an expertise in that field, how do I check up somebody else's expertise? That's why these are only guidelines. Kshotriyam, has he learned consistently from somewhere? If he has learned consistently from somewhere, means okay. The Guru also had a Guru, therefore the parampara is there, probably we are on the right track. You will know that only probably. What is traditional teaching? I remember once I had a class. It was in a hall that was part of an office space of someone. But about 25-30 people could sit there. They had a dismantleable conference table. So every Saturday they would remove it so that I could have the class there. Enough for 25-30 people to sit. It's an office space. So the entrance of the office, there is a Ganesha with a lamp. But in the hall there was nothing, no altar, nothing. So this guy walks into my class, sits down for the first class, and he says, this is not a traditional class because, not to me, he told somebody else, this is not a traditional class because there is no altar, there is no lamp, there is no agarbatti. And so he left and he joined a study group where some discussion there happened. I am fine with it. The question is what happens to him. How do you judge what is traditional or not traditional? How do you check up the parampara? Because if you don't know anything about the subject matter, you don't have enough data to check up. Therefore, a certain guideline of Kshotriyam is given. Yeah. I remember even in my batch, 2 people went through the whole course, meaning about 70 were selected. After that, only half managed to complete the course. Those times we didn't have, a preliminary course 6 months, 3 months, and after that, half of them will be called for the full-time course for the next 2.5 years, 3 years. We didn't have that system that time. Straight away, everyone was called in for the full 2.5 years. So about 50% would manage to complete it. That's why we kept that when Puja Swamiji used to do the later courses, he kept that first a 6 months course and then a 2.5 year thing. So 2 people joined and believe me, 2 people joined and they managed to complete the course. Okay? They managed to complete the whole course. But in spite of that, these two people remained completely unchanged by the end of the course. They had absolutely no understanding. How they managed to complete the course is beyond my comprehension. How can you sit and complete a course and not understand the vision? But it happened. So even though he now for in the public, yeah, these two have done the course. Parampara is there. I also have done the course. These two also done the course. So how do you know whether they understood or not? A student walking in will not be able to judge. Difficult. Okay. Cannot. So there is no way of making out who is there, who is not there. Not possible. Therefore, keeping all that in mind, we have to see that these are only guidelines given, nothing more than that. Okay? Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. There cannot be anything more. Yeah. Then the question is Brahmanishtam. Generally, you expect the Kshotriya to become a Brahmanishta in time. He gets a vision of Vedanta Shastra, all right. Then, with Nididhyasanam, etc., and life spent in the study, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam, he will become a Brahmanishta. This is the normal pattern. Normal pattern. Therefore, if he is a Brahmanishta, you know he is a Kshotriya as well. Now the question is, all right, fine. Can somebody, can you check up, first let me handle that question. Can you check up whether somebody is a Brahmanishta or not? You have some guidelines in the Gita, etc. Sita Prajna. The Sita Prajna and Brahmanishta is one and the same thing. Yeah. So you have some guidelines in the Gita. Apuryamanam machala pratishtam, etc., etc., etc. Whose heart is so full. Based on that, people will have some notions also about what should be a Brahmanishta. He is getting angry, therefore he should not be he is not a Brahmanishta. Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananji, Minute Man. His anger was like a volcano. He exploded in anger. 1 minute. So now can you judge on the basis of that he is not a Brahmanishta or a wise man? No way. So how do you judge? If Kshotriya itself is difficult, Brahmanishta is even more difficult. Because your lifestyle is not indicative of Brahmanishta. All sannyasis are not Brahmanishtas. All grahasthas are not samsaris. Therefore, how do you judge? Difficult. You can't make out. Only when you are well on the way of being a Brahmanishta yourself can you make out whether somebody else is like that or not. Yeah. Because you can't judge a person by his mere lifestyle. You have to judge by the sense of fullness he has in his heart or doesn't have in his heart. Yeah. And how do you judge that? Yes, if somebody says, I want to own 100 Rolls Royce, wise man, I have 100 Rolls Royce, then you can say his vision, forget Brahmanishta, his vision is also doubtful. Why do you want to own 100 Rolls Royce? Now, I want to show that a wise person can live a luxurious lifestyle. But many industrialists don't have 100 Rolls Royce with them. That becomes a poor excuse. That becomes a very poor excuse for it. So there you can say, all right, Baba, fine. Yeah. It is in question. There you can say that. Why do you want to? Why did you put that money to some better use? Yeah. So, only extremes you can make out. No, he is living in a cave in the Himalayas, he should be a Brahmanishta. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I have roamed all over the Himalayas as a trekker and a sadhu both. Okay. Sometimes as a trekker, sometimes as a sadhu. So as a sadhu I met a lot of people. Because I have access to areas which normal people may not have access to. No? Because of my dress and lifestyle, I have access. Yeah. So everyone who lives on a cave, just by the qualification of living on a cave, need not be a Brahmanishta. Yeah. Therefore, very difficult to say. Then the question comes up, can somebody be a Brahmanishta without being a Kshotriya? That means without having studied all the Shastra, can somebody be a Brahmanishta? Rare, but there have been people. It's rare. But there have been people. How can there be somebody who is a Brahmanishta but not a Kshotriya? These are classical cases of people who are Ubhaya Brashtas. People who died in their previous lifetime, they studied Vedanta, everything, but died before they could gain their Nishtha in Brahman, in the Brahmajnanam. Before they gained the Nishtha in it, they died. Some reason or the other. How you died doesn't matter. You died of natural causes, died of an infection, died in an accident, was killed by somebody. Whatever, you died before you gained this knowledge. Before you got rooted in the knowledge. Therefore, Punarjanma is there. And if Punarjanma is there, then Buddhi Som Yogam Labate Paurva Dehikam. Remember Krishna saying in the Gita? He had studied enough in this previous lifetime. So this lifetime, very little understanding was enough. Very little exposure was enough. Ramana is Ramana Maharshi, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi of Tiruvannamalai, Arunachalaha, is a classical example of this. Yeah, classical example. Why? One word is enough for him. Arunachalaha, Arunascha, Achalascha. That which is Arunaha in the form of light consciousness. Achalaha, immoving, immovable. Unmoving meaning no motion. Only the limitless is free from all motion. So he worked on those two words. What triggered it off was seeing death. And suddenly fear of death was there in him. When he said, what is this death? Let me examine it. So he lay down and said, I'm imagining I'm dying. So in that imagination, he went into some sort of a trance, some sort of a samadhi. Then he said, if this is, that means I am free from my body and mind. I am still there. I want to understand more of this. He left home, went to Tiruvannamalai and spent a lot of time in contemplation, trying to understand the experience and working on the word Arunachalaha. So because the previous samskara of the previous learning, he could do enough independent vichara by himself and become a Brahmanishta. Though in this lifetime the Shastra is not there with him. What he said is in harmony with the Shastra. But the Shastra is not there with him. Some of you may have been exposed to Upadesha Saram. I have done that in some of my camps, Upadesha Saram, Saddarshanam, etc. So what he said is in harmony with the Shastra. Though he uses sometimes his own words, his own paradigms. But he doesn't have the Shastra, he cannot teach you the Shastra. Therefore, it is difficult to go and learn from him and become a Kshotriya Brahmanishta yourself. Very inspirational. There is nobody who has met Ramana Maharshi and not been inspired. Everyone is inspired by him. But Brahmanishta without being a Kshotriya, rare case. Rare case like that. Yeah. So, such rare cases always exist. Yeah. So, because of that, we will have to say that yes, there can be people who are Brahmanishtas but not Kshotriyas. Therefore, in the last verse, we saw the ideal guru would be someone who is both a Kshotriyam and a Brahmanishta. Second level, go to a Kshotriya because he will not misguide you. He will be on track. You will not be caught up in mysticism. Brahmanishta, go, meet. You will be inspired. I remember years ago, I was a kid, 10-year-old. Okay. Or even a little later. Because I wouldn't remember it. I met him later. When Swami Chinmayananji was setting up things in Bombay, he took everyone to meet Swami Nityananda of Vajreshwari. I don't know how many of you have heard of Swami Nityananda ji. Okay. He was known as a great mystic and healer and everything. Okay. Phenomenal person. Great tapasvi. Great tapasvi. People would come for his darshan and go. He wouldn't teach. So what is he doing all day? He is sitting in samadhi and there is a fire and some ashes burning in front of him. So depending upon your prarabdha, like this happened to my father's friend, depending upon your prarabdha, when you go and prostrate, he will open his eyes. A lot of people come prostrate and go, he is sitting with closed eyes. He doesn't know who has come and who has gone. But if your prarabdha is appropriate, he will open your eyes and you can ask him what you want. So this man, his name was Kadam, my father's friend and colleague. So he said, Swamiji, I am bleeding from the stomach. Nobody has been able to identify what is the cause of that bleeding. Every day I'm bleeding. If it goes like this, I will die. Acha, here, take this vibhuti as prasad. He gave some leaves. Roj 3 patta khana, 3 din idhar rehna. Stay here for 3 days in Vajreshwari. Every day have a bath in the hot kund and drink cow's milk. Fresh cow's milk you drink. Those days, that's all the things you would get there, It's a very desolate place. So he did that. And he came back cured. He came back cured. No problems. A great Siddha he was. So Swami Chinmayanji took this whole group of people to meet him, to see, look, here is a Brahmanishta. You may or may not believe I am a Brahmanishta, but here is a Brahmanishta. He did that. Okay. So like this, there have been few cases of people who are Brahmanishta, all right, but not Kshotriyas. And he had a disciple who gained samadhi before him. And the person who took over from the ashram after his samadhi, after Swami Nityanandaji's samadhi, was someone called Muktananda. Muktananda was a person whom Swami Nityanandaji would drive away from the ashram. When he used to come close to him, "Kyun aaya idhar? Nikal jao." And if he doesn't go, he will take up whatever is in his hand, stone, this, that, that's lying around, and throw it at him. Get lost. Don't ask me what the teaching was about. Okay. Maybe checking up to see whether he can consistently come back. So, do I know any other cases? Yeah, I know one more. I can share that also. Mota Ramananda. Uttarkashi and above you will find him. I don't know whether Kavita has seen him. I doubt it. On her treks. He was called Mota Ramananda. Okay. You haven't seen him. Okay. Yeah, because after 90 even I have not seen him. He must have had his samadhi and left his body somewhere. We don't know where. He was an old man when I was young. Okay. In fact, he used to talk over the 1887 War of Independence and things like that. And he showed me a scar on his leg which was a bullet injury. That was a bullet injury, was very clear. But 1857? Okay. So he was also like that. Stark naked, he would go around in the Himalayas. Stark naked. And again, if he is sitting down in some place and people are coming to meet him, there will be a small fire burning in front of him, tiny little fire. Just enough to make some ashes. And those ashes he would give as prasad. That's it. And he would roam all over the Himalayas. In the ice, in the cold, in the snow. Stark naked. So a little bit, sometimes if he is in mood, he would talk. Otherwise, he wouldn't even talk. So I had a little bit interaction with him and things like that. Nobody really knows where he came from, okay? Because we are talking of 1857 and he got injured. He must have been a youngster at that time, no? At least 13, 14-year-old. So there are few cases like this, few and far in between, where there have been Brahmanishtas who are not Kshotriyas. They are inspirational. But they are not teachers that you can learn from. You can't try to do what they do and say you will also gain knowledge. No. They may do various things for various purposes. And what they do is not going to give you knowledge anyway. You will gain knowledge only if somebody teaches you. The pramana is there. Therefore, keeping this in mind, he says, go to Kshotriyam Brahmanishtam. Okay. And if you get a Kshotriyam Brahmanishtam Guru, you have to understand that I definitely take it as God's grace. God's grace. I was a youngster when I met my Guru. I could have been misled by so many people. That time there were so many people going around. 2-3 popular Gurus were there at that time. One was Osho. He was known as Acharya Rajneesh that time. He had not yet become Osho or Bhagwan Rajneesh or something. He was Acharya Rajneesh. He used to come to and talk in Chaupati. Then J. Krishnamurti used to be there. I listened to him in JJ School of Arts, in the this thing he would teach. Yeah. He would give his public talks there. But they are not traditional teachers. Yeah. So if you have met a traditional teacher and you can study from him, God's grace. I'm not saying that. Shankara has said that, okay? Manushyatvam, mumukshutvam, mahapurusha samashraya. Durlabam trayame vetat, Ishvara anugraha hetukam. Ishvara anugraha alone is responsible for this. Manushyatvam, a human body, human birth. In that mumukshutvam, the desire to know, to be free, and meeting with a Mahapurusha, Kshotriyam Brahmanishta, God's grace. Okay. Because even if you meet, that samashra is important. Why should he accept you as a student? What is the reason for it? Need not, no? Okay, in a different field, because sometimes some of these, olden days used to keep this testing for students, which was good in a way, to see are the students committed enough for learning. You go to an ashram, even now in Zen monasteries this is true. Acha, you want to join the ashram? Fine, come in. First of all, for the Zen monastery to open up to you is difficult. If you want to be a full time there is a small room outside the gate. You have to go sit inside there and ring the bell and wait for them to call you in. How long? 1 hour? 3 hours? 3 days? You wait, that's it. Then they'll call you in. Then I want to learn this, that. Okay, fine, come. Most probably, you will be given a broom in your hand. Long broom with a long stick and asked to sweep the whole monastery. This will go on for months. For months. Then if you survive that, and finally you gather up courage to say, I want to learn. Acha, you want to learn? Come. So, Indian ashrams also had that in the beginning, not nowadays. आ जाओ, सेवा करो थोड़ा. Even now, Ramakrishna Mission follows this. Anyone who joins Ramakrishna Mission is sent for a 1-year course to Almora, where they are taught basic things. Ramakrishna's works, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's teaching, Vivekananda's teaching. Very basic thing is taught. After that, 12 years of seva in their different centers, social work. 12 years. Then those who want to study after that 12 years, they can go and find any teacher within the Ramakrishna setup or outside the Ramakrishna setup. The organization will support them for their learning. $80 to 90% don't learn further. They got caught up in their social service and they are stuck there. 10-15% learn further. Good way of weeding out, no? Students or non-students. Good way of weeding out. Yeah. Because traditional teaching in any field is difficult to gain acceptance. A friend of mine is also my sensei. Went to learn martial arts. He heard about this Tibetan monk who was teaching martial arts and he went to learn. He was already into martial arts. So black belt in karate or something. He went there. I have enough students. He had 6 students, okay? Martial art class with 6 students. He had only 6 students. He said, I have enough students, no more. So he had some idea of this testing and things like that can happen. So he waited outside the class. Every day he would go and wait outside the class. For months. Finally that old man called him in. You want to study? Yes sir, I am very keen. I will do anything necessary. Come tomorrow with all your certificates, belts, etc. So he took this whole bunch of certificates he had. From white belt to black belt, 10 of them, 10 belts already. So he looked at it. Acha, dropped it on the ground, okay? Now a belt is sacred, you won't drop it on the ground. Each certificate, each belt dropped on the ground. Then he put some kerosene on top of it and burns the whole thing up. And this friend of mine looking, my God, what is he doing? My lifetime work. 5 years of sweat and blood and tears. And then the old man, Lama Sewang Nobu, okay, looked at him and says, Christy boy, your real learning starts now. Forget all that you learned up to now. Your real learning starts now. All that learning of this thing brought you here. Now your real learning starts. So, that is why Shankara says, God's grace only, if the teacher has accepted you. I remember me going to my teacher. I wanted to study full time. There was no role models for me. How do you go? How do you approach? Nothing. So Swamiji was conducting a camp and I was part of that camp. So I told Swamiji, Swamiji, can I come and speak to you about something important? Swamiji looked at me quizzically. After lunch, come. So after lunch I am right there. And then he went in and said, come. And he sat down there, and when I looked at him, I knew he knew why I had come for. I knew that. And he also knew that I knew it. So I said, Swamiji, I would like to study full time with you. To join a course. And I had gone with all these things. Supposing he says, no, what do I do? Plan B is what? I'll ask him what I should do to become ready for it. Correct, no? What should I do to become ready? I will do that. I am ready for it. But luckily for me, God's grace, he said, I'll be happy to teach you. I said, one problem solved. Major thing solved. Mahapurusha Samashraya is there. Na baki sab dekha jayega. So, Durlabam Trayamevetat Devanugrahametukam. Okay. So, with this person, okay. All right. So, I think I have answered all questions, clarifications that people have asked me on last time's class. Couple of questions had come in. 2, 3 people had asked something. Okay, so all that is clear. Okay. Then there is a guideline for the Guru also given. When a student like this comes, what do you do? Saguruhu Parama Kripaya Adhyaropa Apavadya Nyayena Enam Upadishati. Saguruhu, that Guruhu, whoever he is, okay? Parama Kripaya, with great compassion. With great compassion. Why? Because students come with their own backgrounds and their own this thing, their own hassles. They'll start rebelling against you also. I've seen that also happening. They'll hide information from you. That also I've seen happening. Ye sab hota hai. Even if you ask them a direct question, if they know the Guru's opinion is different from them, then they will try to sidestep it. Ye sab dekha hai. From where? From people in this class, okay? Yeah, all right. Then Adhyaropa Apavada Nyayena, by the logic of Adhyaropa Apavada. Enam Upadishati. This is the main paradigm in Vedanta. Adhyaropa Apavada. What is Adhyaropa? Any wrong conclusion about yourself. Atasmin tad buddhihi adhyasaha. Simple definition of adhyasa. Atasmin tad buddhihi. Tasmin in something in front of you. Atad buddhihi. Taking it as something else. Okay. Atasmin tad buddhihi adhyasaha. Therefore, the student comes taking himself as samsari. I am a samsari. World is real. It's too much for me to handle. Ishvara, I have some rough idea. Those ideas will be clarified in the camp, okay? 7 levels of understanding Ishvara. That will be the topic. Okay. That is next Sunday, next weekend. So next weekend there is no class. All those who have registered will get a link soon, in a day or two. Those who are not registered, go ahead and register. Okay, yeah. Late comers will also get a link, okay, but register. All right. So, rough idea of God is there. May be correct, may not be correct. Generally not correct. They'll come with all sorts of ideas of what should be done for moksha. Today, even more. Why? Net hai na. Google is God for most people. Everything search on the Google. Yeah. But if in a Google search you will get sense and nonsense. How do you differentiate between the two? So, lot of adhyasa is there in their mind. About themselves, about the world, about Ishvara, about the process, about Vedanta, everything. Tasya apavada. Negation of all that. Because without that, what you reveal will not make any sense. Therefore, Adhyaropa Apavada Nyayena, by the logic of Adhyaropa Apavada, negation of the Adhyasas. Now that is a little dicey process. Why? You may have a pet notion. I'm a liberal by background. Yeah. For me to go and touch somebody's feet was difficult. Even though I'm a South Indian, but I'm not a Tam Braham. I come from a very martial race. The Nayars of Kerala, a very martial race. And my background was similar. modern, educated, liberal. Therefore, a lot of booza barata, lot of nonsense was there in my mind. All religions talk the same thing. One big thing in your mind. All religions are valid forms of worship, yes, but they don't talk the same thing. That statement itself, some people may find it difficult, even after years of studying Vedanta. They don't talk, it's simple, they are heaven-going religions. But Swamiji, the seeds of knowledge are there. Yes, seeds of knowledge are there in all religions, but do they follow it? Is it consistently revealed? It will be considered blasphemy. Many things that Vedanta says will be considered blasphemy in all the Abrahamic religions. All the religions that have come from West Asia, Jews, Islam, Christianity, all of them will consider it as blasphemy. Adhyaropa, apavada, all religions are equal. From there it starts. It make you uncomfortable. The teacher is not supposed to confirm your views. He is supposed to challenge it and make you understand what is right. But we cannot be against all the Muslims. Who said you should be against a Muslim? We are talking about your understanding. How much you are going to understand. And to ensure that the culture survives, the culture that kept Vedanta going thousands of years survive. That's important. Because without that, Vedanta won't survive. Then instead of coming to India to study Vedanta, you'll have to go to Brazil to study Vedanta. Really, I'm not joking. Couple of our best teachers are there. Then you have to say, once upon a time, there was a Garden of Eden called India, where Vedanta and abhi kya hai? Abhi idhar hai, udhar nahi hai. Yeah. So, this is called Adhyaropa. I am giving one example. I deliberately picked up an example which can make people uncomfortable. It can make some people very comfortable. Yes. That also will be there. That also I will negate, don't worry. Yeah. Even though I may negate some of the religions and their religious belief, only a Vedanta teacher can say that that fanatic from that religion is also nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Only a Vedanta Acharya will say that, nobody else. That guy, the terrorist who is holding a gun and killing innocent, also is nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Who else but a Vedanta Acharya will say that? That's the difference. That's the difference. Yeah. Therefore, Adhyaropa apavada nyayena enam upadishati. He will teach this person. Because the person is a fit student. He has come with Viveka, Vairagya, etc. With all the qualities he has come. How can you say no to such a person? It's foolish to say no. It's foolish to say no to such a deserving student. Exactly. And for this he is quoting Mundaka Upanishad, which gives, remember, finally the Pramanam is Upanishads. Therefore, anything any teacher says, however great he is, has to be validated by the Upanishad. The teaching is only an extension of the Upanishad. Okay? Is nothing of, no teacher claims it to be his own. He always acknowledges the source of it. Okay? And therefore he says, Tasmai se vidvan upasannaya samyak prashanta chittaya shaman vitaya yena aksharam purusham veda satyam pravochatam tattvato brahma vidyam. Tasmai sa vidvan, unto him, that vidvan, well-informed person, samyak upasannaya, who has approached him properly. With a willing, properly means what? A willingness to learn. That's all you look for. What do you look for in a student? Willingness to learn. Yeah. Even I do the same thing in my class, though people always don't realize it. When a new person comes and someone introduces me, what do I look for? Is there a willingness to learn? If the person is coming to display his or her knowledge, I will say something which is confrontating, mildly confrontating. And I know instantly by the reaction, even if it is silence also speaks volumes. I will know. And true enough, next class I don't find them. Or I find them but keeping quiet. They're hidden. They keep quiet, they don't put the videos on, nothing. I know that. Okay, good enough, fine. Maybe there is some openness to learning. Therefore, tasmai sa vidvan upasannaya samyak. He has come with a proper attitude to learn. And prashanta chittaya shaman vitaya. Prashanta chittaya, meaning samadama, etc. By implication, all the qualities are there in him. Yena aksharam purusha veda satyam. Yena satyam aksharam purusham veda. By what you can know the aksharam purushaha. The purushaha, pura ushati iti, that which abides in this body, which is aksharam, is not affected by time and space. That who can know. Pravochatam tattvataha brahma vidyam. Brahma vidyam pravocha. The teacher should teach that. Brahma vidyam. Tattvataha. Completely in its reality. As it is, the Brahma Vidya should be taught. It's a guideline for the teacher. Why? Hey, you're getting such a great student here. Well prepared. Not half-baked. Not people coming out of curiosity and things like that. People who are really coming with a willingness to learn. Hey, what do? Teach. Yeah. Accept that role and teach. Yeah. Put on that role. What are you? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Abhi kya kar raha hai? Abhi Guru ka role kar raha hai. Okay. Guru ka role kar. Play that role. Teach. Because the student deserves that teaching. He is a Shishya. He is not just a Vidyarthi. Not someone who desires knowledge. No, he is committed. Sishya. Siksha Yogya. He deserves to be taught. Therefore, teach him. All right. Now, any questions or shall I go ahead? I think this is pretty clear.
So, Swamiji, just a small clarification
Yeah.
from mine.
Yeah.
In this particular description of the student,
Yeah.
would the student be considered a mumukshu or a jignasu, Swami?
Okay. When you start off, the word mumukshu is used because he may not be well informed that knowledge alone will give the result. He may know that everything I have tried doesn't work. That's why I go to learn from someone. Because that guy looks as though he has got it. Therefore, mumukshutvam is a word used because that is your motivation. Your motivation is mumukshutvam. That I need freedom from my sense of finitude, from my lack of fulfillment. I need freedom from that. Because without mumukshutvam, if there is a desire to know, it can end up in academic study of it. You can become scholarly, academic, but it won't reflect in your life. It won't touch you. That inner transformation that it can do in terms of your mind, that will not happen. Because the value of personal freedom is not there. Therefore, what we say is mumukshutvam. Let that come. Then, in time, that mumukshutvam, that desire for freedom, gets an informed conversion. That it is not that freedom from my sense of limitation will come with knowing the truth. Therefore, I want to know the truth. The transformation happens. Because without mumukshutvam, if someone says, I want to know, it's only an academic pursuit. You are going and doing your MA, doctorate. That's why I respect that person so much. Devyani's teacher. Devyani, one of my students, went and asked her, did her MA in philosophy and went and asked the teacher, I want to do my doctorate. And the teacher turned around and said, why do you want to do it? I want to know the truth. Her mumukshutvam came up. So the teacher told her, then don't waste your time on a doctorate. Find a traditional teacher and learn from him or her. You will gain it. You will gain that. Doing a PhD, you won't know the truth. And how are you saying that? Look at me. I've guided PhDs. Lot of my students have gained doctorates. You won't know the truth like that. Therefore, the driving force has to be mumukshutvam, which later on gets an edge of being a jignasu. But a jignasu because you are backed by mumukshutvam, not other way around. Yeah, very important. That is a good question that you asked. Yeah, because I had not mentioned this. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Then he had said, Adhyaropa apavada. Okay. So now you will find verses after verses in what is Adhyaropa? Correct? What is Adhyaropa that people have? He doesn't handle your special Adhyaropas. Okay? Personal Adhyaropas he doesn't handle because that is left for the teacher to handle with his own students. He handles what I would call as universal Adhyaropas. Meaning, Adhyaropas that will be there commonly in any human being with respect to you and the world and Ishvara. Common. Without thinking. These Adhyaropas are there without thinking. I am a finite individual. The world is real. The world has been created by something. I am a finite guy. Bhagwan hai kya nahi, pata nahi hai. These type of common superimpositions. Then, which is unthinking, without thinking you heard it. Did you really spend elaborate thought before you came to Vedanta on whether the world is real or not? If you had spent that time whether the world is real or not, I am finite or not, you would have come to Vedanta much earlier, or you would have become a theoretical physicist or a psychologist. Because that is a modern trend of going with these type of questions. Yeah. There is a now modern trend. So, these are without thinking, sahajam, natural. Then there are some superimpositions which is born of thinking. But wrong conclusions because you don't have enough data to know the truth. So you have one school of thought. All the schools of thought are like that. Charvakas, for example. इतना मगजमारी क्या करने का है, रेवा दे, डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम ऑन ऑल दैट, मज़ा करो, खाओ पियो, क्या करने का ये सब, ज़्यादा नहीं सोचने का, ज़्यादा नहीं सोचने का, कुछ मगजमारी नहीं करने का डोंट ट्रबल योर माइंड टू मच, खाओ पियो मज़ा करो, और क्या करने का है. One line. Charvakas. Like this, there are various schools of thought which are a product of speculative thinking. See, there is a in speculation, you are speculating about something which is not available for thought, which is not an object of a thought. Yourself, I. Therefore, it will remain purely speculative, probably based on some experiences you have undergone. Adhyaropa, special ones. He handles half a dozen of them. He doesn't handle the Purvapakshas of science, leftists, liberals, etc. He doesn't handle. Why? They were not there at that time. Dialectical materialism of communism was not there at that time. Mechanical materialism of the Charvakas were there. Some amount of science was there in terms of Nyaya Vaisheshika. That he handles. The forerunner for modern science. Yeah. In the Western world, science started with the Greeks. The Greek philosophers. Yeah. Modern world, okay. The rudimentary science started there with their study of planets. Yeah. Because in Greek the word planet means a wanderer. It wanders around. But a couple of thousand years before the Greeks thought about it, in India there was a school of thought called Nyaya Vaisheshika, which was a forerunner of science. So that Purvapaksha he handles, in general. So now he is describing from the chapter 2 onwards, what are these superpositions?
Swamiji,
Yeah?
just one minute. Atasmin tat buddhi. Atas, what is the meaning of that actually for Adhyaropa?
To take something as something else. He will explain it here, don't worry. Right, the next verse itself is explaining that. Okay? Yeah. Like he started with the Adhyaropa Apavada. Therefore, what is Adhyaropa? First he defines that. He says, Asarpa bhutayam rajjau sarpa aropavat vastuni avastu aropaha adhyaropaha. Vastuni avastu aropaha. Vastuni in an object, in one thing, one given thing which is functionally real. Vastu, which is real. Tasmin. Avastu aropaha. Superimposing something which is not real. For the example given is Asarpa bhutayam rajjau. In a rope which is not a snake, Sarpa aropavad, you have projected a snake. You have mistaken a rope for a snake. Therefore, the Vastu is rope, and whatever you put there, Avastu, snake. Tasmin. Tasmin meaning Rajjau, rope. Atad buddhihi, not that buddhihi, meaning snake buddhi. Snake buddhi. To mistake, in short, to mistake something for something else. Vastuni avastu aropaha. Atasmin tad buddhi. Those who have done Adhyasa Bhasha with me, you will remember all the nuances. Smriti Rupa, Purva Drishta, etc. Okay? Yeah. And the five ways of interpreting adhyasa. Revise karo, अच्छा है. Okay. Yeah. Therefore, asarpa bhutayam rajjo sarpa aropovat vastune avastu aropaha adhyaropa. Okay. Then, in this case, what is the vastu and what is the aropa? This case is meaning with respect to Vedanta. We are not correcting rope snake for people. That let them handle it themselves. If you have mistaken a rope for a snake, that's not the problem in Vedanta. You go correct it. Na? Yeah. Like the New York Times had published something. Okay. Stalwarts take charge of Afghanistan. ठीक है. If there are stalwarts for you, now वो क्या बोलेगा? Half of them are UN designated terrorists. But if you are taking them, I am not here to correct your thinking unless you come to discuss with me. Until then, I have no problem. You go do what you want. मेरे को वेदांता से मतलब. And if my students think that, then we can have a discussion. Yeah. I don't think any of my students are stupid enough to think that. Okay. Okay. But I'm mentioning it because you never know. They can be Brihaspatis, okay? To use Swamiji's word. Great thinkers can be there like that, you know. Okay, then what is the Vastu here? Vastuhu Sachidanandam Advayam Brahma Ajnanadi Sagala Jada Samuha Avastu. Simple. Itna hi baat hai. What is the Vastu? Sachidanandam Advayam Brahma. This is the Vastu, the reality. Okay. In other words, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Sachidanandam. That which is pure existence, which is limitless, and consciousness. I am not going to go in detail explaining Sachidananda now because he himself does it. Okay. Since he himself does it, we will leave for him to do it. But Sachidananda Atma Swarupaha is Brahman. That is the Vastu, that is the reality. Why? Because Sat existence. Existence is the basis for everything. We are living in an existing world, not a non-existing world. Therefore, forms of existence can be many. Existence is one. Anantam. And you, the consciousness, is non-different from existence. Sattaya chit, chittaya sat. That sat chit is one and the same thing. Otherwise, you will have non-existing consciousness. Let it be. Unfortunately, you are existing in front of me for me to teach. Otherwise, I'll be happy to say, let it be. Yeah. Therefore, Sachidanandam Advayam Brahman is Vastu. Then what is Avastu? Ajnanadi Sakalam Jada Samuham. From ignorance onwards, anything that is Jadam, that you can objectify, is called Avastu. Jadam is what is considered insentient, but really speaking, something that you can objectify, other than you, the consciousness. Starting from Ajnanam itself, I don't know. I'm ignorant of that. Are you aware of your ignorance? Yep. Avastu, you are imposed it on yourself. No, your reasoning, intellect, your emotions, your mind, memories. You know, your reasoning, memory and all were given to you for functioning. Memory and all. Why? Have you had breakfast in the morning? So that at 11 o'clock you won't go and have a second breakfast. As it is, weight gain is a problem. Imagine if you forgot you had breakfast at 8:30 and 11 o'clock had a second breakfast. Kya ho jayega? So, To prevent issues like this, you have given a memory. But because on the basis of memory, you will make a self-judgment. I am like this only. On the basis of your ideas, you will make a self-judgment. I am a liberal. I am an atheist. I am a whatever. On the basis of some ideas, you are making a whole self-judgment about yourself. On the basis of emotions, I am guilty. I am in pain. My pain body is too much. I require healing. Yeah, if you require healing, please take it. Okay. But it's a judgment on the basis of memory. I am a failure. Why? Because I failed in that project. Bas, itna hi. Self-judgment. Memory is not meant for self-judgment, but we do it. All the time. All the time we do it. So, memory-based self-judgment. All opinions are myself. I am a homely sage, I have worked for 40 years in the industry. I have been there, seen there. Now I am available to give advice to everyone. Pain people to deal with. I have a friend like that who loves to pontificate. And you challenge him, he gets upset. I don't want to discuss it with you. Who asked you to start with it? Self-judgment. Just because you had some few experiences. Oh, no, nice. If you have some good experience, good. If somebody asks about it, please tell them. Or in a discussion, if it comes, share. Good, nice. And if somebody challenges you, that is their freedom. Accept that. Fine. But if you make a judgment, it becomes an identity. That is Adhyaropa. If you say, I have an opinion, it's not an Adhyaropa. You have an opinion. So somebody else can have another opinion. That's okay. Not a problem. But you're making that, you're working on that opinion. Naturally, I'll work on that opinion. Because my opinion, I'm committed to it. But then if I allow it to limit me and define me, then it becomes a Adhyaropa. And that's what most people do. They let it define. And everything else is bad. Everything else is uncomfortable. Yeah, some people have asked me, how can you go and eat in a Muslim's house? I said, he's my friend. He is such a good friend, he makes special vegetarian food for me when I go there for Eid. And we sit in that big communal thing and we eat. Oh, sab jhuta hai. This is my contribution to interreligious peace. I will sit in that same community and the thing, but only thing is my food is vegetarian. Others are eating non-vegetarian. How can you do that? Because I am not limited by my opinions. I can pick it up and drop it when I want it. And then some liberal idiots who I know called me, you're Hindu fanatic. Ask them to come and take prasad. They will hesitate. You don't believe in all these things, no? Arey, it's a modak given for Ganesh Chaturthi day. You won't get modak around the year. Eat. Maja se kha lo. Lekin prasad hai. I can't take prasad. Idiot. Enjoy it as a sweet, na? Enjoy it as a sweet. Conditioning. One side religious conditioning, other side liberal conditioning. इतने फर्क है. thinking wise conditioning, emotion wise conditionings, culture wise conditioning, all Adhyaropa. All Adhyaropa. See, certain things are culturally given to support a culture and a general society and community, which is fine. But the moment you make it a conditioning, is a problem. Like many of the girls here, ladies here, your mother must have told you when you are very young, put a tika, put something. Don't go without on a bare forehead. And many of us rebelled against that. No? My generation rebelled against that. I really didn't have to rebel. My mother would say, put some vibhuti, I just done the puja. I'll say, okay, I'll put the vibhuti. And within a few minutes, it will go from my forehead on its own, without me having to wipe it out. Why? Because we went to convent schools where this was looked down upon. So our rebellion had a source in something else. Your mother was trying to promote their culture, that's it. You're born in this culture, have some understanding about it. She didn't have much of understanding, so she made it as a practice. That's all. But you went out and you were exposed to something, this is all not modern, this is all not, it's all superstition, all that type of inputs were given to you, if not at a definitely vocal level, at a subliminal level it was given, and you fell for that. And you rebelled against it. Or there was too much of religion forced upon you and you got fed up with the whole thing and you rebelled against that. Whatever it is, Adhyaropa, understand that. All that is part of your Adhyaropa, how it affects you personally. Cultural condition. Intellectually, emotionally, culturally, experience-wise. Yeah. I have some wonderful Muslim friends. Because of that, I conclude Islam is a great religion. Your friends are great. Islam, if you read the Quran and the Hadith, I'm sorry. You can't say that. Anyway, most people who say it's a great religion have not read the Quran and Hadith anyway. Have you? Yes, I have. I have read the Quran not only in an English translation, I have read a Sanskrit translation. The Hadith I don't have as a Sanskrit translation. So, these type of experiential conclusions you have. Adhyaropa. It's all looking at everything globally. You are with one experience, you're making a global conclusion. Or you had one person from one religion being a pain in you, and therefore you conclude all the people in that religion is bad. That's easier for people to accept. What I said in the beginning is not so easy. The second statement is easier for people to accept. Why? Because we have come from liberal backgrounds. So our conditioning is liberal. Another Adhyaropa. Everywhere you will see only Adhyaropa, because your whole life is an Adhyaropa. Whole life is an Adhyaropa on the truth. Yeah. Experience wise, emotion wise, intellectual wise, body wise, of course. This body is me, perfect Adhyaropa. Therefore, we talk about self-love, body positivity, etc., etc. So much of literature is available on. Up to a point I agree, yeah, better be positive about your body. That doesn't mean you're 50 kilos overweight and say I should have body positivity. I will continue with 50 kilos of extra weight on me. That's not body positivity. That is your excuse for becoming whatever you are. Because if I say something, oh, that is against body positivity. You are labeling. 50 kilos overweight is unhealthy under any conditions. If you are really positive about your body, be positive and knock off that extra weight. Yeah, really be positive about your body, Take care of it. Take care of it, remain healthy. So at various levels, you have mistaken notion about Sachidananda Swarupa. You are Sachidananda Swarupa, and this is all that you have taken yourself to be. Okay. Therefore, Ajnanadi Sakalam Jadam Samoham Avastu. This is how it goes. Okay. I think this is clear. I have elaborated it enough. So we can see one more verse. Ajnanam tu, because he had said, now Ajnanadi everything. Na? Look at the beauty of this writing. If he uses one word, then he'll explain that word. Then he'll explain that word. Yeah. So you make one statement and the whole chapter goes in explaining that whole statement. What a beautiful way of writing. Very intellectually precise. Very precise way of. Ajnanam tu sad asadbhyam anirvachaniyam trigunatmakam jnana virodhi bhavarupam yat kinchiditi vadanti aham ajnaha ityadi anubhavat devatma shaktim sagunair nigudam ityadi shrutescha. What a beautiful definition. Okay. Very beautifully said what Ajnanam is. But if I go into it, now it will take me another half an hour. Okay. So understand one thing. Whatever you experience, whenever you experience, I don't know. That's Ajnanam. I don't know is Ajnanam. It is Anubhava Siddham. It's established by your Anubhava. By your vritti, I don't know. It's a very important point here, okay? That Ajnanam Anubhava Siddham. If it is Pramana Siddham, it will become real. If it is not Pramana Siddham, it is established only by your Anubhava, your experience. It is a subject matter of what whenever you say, I don't know. Aham idam na janami. What is the vritti there? The content of that vritti is Ajnanam. It's based in Ajnanam. I don't know. Because without that Ajnanam, you cannot have Adhyaropa. You can give 100 psychological reasons of why you mistook the rope for a snake. You are afraid of snakes. Can be one reason. You are from Mallu land. You all worship snakes. You are a nature lover. You love snakes. You have seen too many movies about snakes. Anaconda 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you have seen. So psychological reasons can be many. None of the psychological reason will be valid if you did not know what is there is a rope. If you knew it's a rope, there is no way this mistake, it's a snake, can come up. Psychological reasons can be a million. Fundamentally, I did not know it is a rope. Ajnanam adhyasya karanam. Adhyayasya karanam ajnanam. Without ajnanam, there is no adhyasa. There is a whole school of thought saying that only adhyasa is there is no ajnanam. Which is not possible. Because if I knew it was a snake, how will? If there has to be no ajnanam, then knowledge has to be there. If I knew it was a rope, in what way will I mistake it for a snake? At the most, I will say it looks like a snake. Very nice. That's a nice piece. It looks like a snake. Let me take it home and keep it in my drawing room. Varnish it a bit, paint it a little bit. Yeah, it's a nice piece for my setting. Yeah, good. That you can do. You'll not be scared about it and try to go the other way or look for a stick or anything like that. That you wouldn't do. That response shows you have taken it as real. Either fear response in terms of walking somewhere else, avoidance, or fear response in terms of aggression. Go kill it. It's lying down there, it's not doing anything to you. Why do you want to kill it? So both the responses show what I have taken it as real. Even you say let it be. You have taken it as real. Revade is not causing you any problem, na? Somehow I have fallen in love with that Gujarati word, Revade. It has got so many nuances to it. I heard it as part of a joke and I liked it. Okay. So, without ajnanam there is no adhyaropa. Without ajnanam there is no adhyasa. Therefore, it is important to understand what is this ajnana, which we will see next class. Not next weekend. Next weekend is a camp. I hope all of you are there for it. Of course, people from UK will find it a little difficult for the first class. 8 o'clock class will be difficult. 10 o'clock may be just about manageable. Yeah. So, have a nice time. Have a nice weekend. See you all. Take care. Om Tat Sat.